Good evening, everyone. It is a true honor to be with you tonight. Thank you for putting me under pressure so early. But before I start, I do have a confession that I need to make. And I don't know, we have two rabbis on stage, so would you accept a confession from a Palestinian? So it's all right. Something happened to me today where I actually almost decided not to come to this gathering. And this is why I have to make this confession. I don't come to New York often. And this afternoon I decided to take a walk on Broadway. And after eating a few hot dogs on the streets of Broadway, a sign appeared in front of my eyes. It was as if the prophets were writing something to me. It was a big sign that for a split second almost decided that I will not come tonight. And the sign said, Paul Simon in concert tonight. Paul Simon. But of course I changed my mind very quickly, especially after the second sign appeared, which was sold out. So I am with you tonight. It is an honor for me to say that when Encounter was conceived 6 years ago, it happened in my office. Until that point, and until today, I am one who has committed his life to building a Palestinian nonviolent movement, training in nonviolent resistance hundreds, if not thousands, of Palestinians throughout the West Bank through the organization I run called Holy Land Trust. Until we met Encounter, myself and my staff had long given up on the idea of dialogue. Work with Israelis and Jews was not on our agenda. We disdained such efforts as normalization, normalizing relations between Israelis and Palestinians while pretending nothing is wrong. Our mantra was, enough sitting around the campfire and singing Kumbaya all night, hoping that things will change. Yes, of course, we did work with some Israelis and some Jews, but these were what we called activists, the people who were ready to stand with us on the front lines in our nonviolent demonstrations, who gave us full solidarity with us through nonviolent resistance, struggling for our rights and our dignity, of course, along with theirs as well. If Melissa hadn't had a long friendship with one of my lead staffers, I might not have taken her seriously. She got her foot in the door through trust building that took many years. I would later learn that this is a pivotal part of how she operates strategically, earning credibility through building relationships with leaders on all sides who would never find themselves at the same table but for their trust in her. The investment in relationship building has become Encounter's culture, and I have watched the staff she trained do the patient work of building relationships with thousands of Palestinians, Orthodox Jews, and other strange bedfellows who have never before been open to each other's viewpoints and transforming all our communities as a result. Back to 2005. Melissa got our attention because she understood our story as Palestinians. She wasn't just some do-gooder American wondering why we can't all get along. She did not just come and tell us, if you Palestinians do this and stop doing that, and if you follow the 7 steps of peace building, then you will have peace. She too had been frustrated by the inefficiency of dialogue efforts during the years of Oslo. From the beginning, she said to us that if we want to change the game, we have to reach beyond the peace camp. We have to reach the centrists. We have to reach the Orthodox, the right-wing leaders who actually claim and believe that there is no partner on the Palestinian side. So she challenged us and said, what if we brought powerful players in the American Jewish community to you? As an organization and as Palestinians, we have always seen that mainstream American Jews as one of the most powerful constituencies in the conflict. In early 2005, we agreed to an experiment, and this experiment led to where we are today. On that first trip, when actually it was one of my staffers who made that claim that there were more Jews than any time since the first Intifada, there was a sense of us that, for us, that we were embarking on something hugely risky, but also very important. I was pleasantly surprised to see light bulbs go off in the eyes of the participants. Melissa and her team had created an environment in which people were able to take in what they were seeing and respond respectfully rather than get defensive. And they were not the usual suspects. They were the sorts of people who'd always been missing from the dialogue world of the 80s and 90s. By the end of that trip, my cell phone was filled with numbers of new friends, and my number was in their phones. And many of them were writing me, asking what they could do and how they could get involved. If I were to summarize the 6-year journey and the tremendous impact this little organization has had on the Palestinian society, I would summarize it in 3 points. And I would say the same 3 points might also reflect on the Jewish community as well. The first point is that there was a change in the stereotypes and negative perception of the other. For the first time, for many of these Palestinians, the word Jew was not just defined by what certain politicians and certain media institutes were saying a Jew should be, looked like. The same thing, for the first time for many Jews, the word Palestinian was not also defined by how certain politicians and certain media institutions also want you to define a Palestinian. The second point was experiencing compassion and a space for listening. And I just want to say one example on this is there's a game that we play between the Jewish participants and the Palestinian participants. It's called a game, but it's really not a game. You cannot but come to crying, tears in your eyes, when you have a circle of joint Palestinians and Israelis, and you ask them the question, if you have lost somebody related to you or a friend of yours in the violence, please step in the middle of the circle. And when a Palestinian girl and a Jewish girl step inside, this is when tear comes to your eyes. The third point is celebrating life. And this is what we do. We celebrate life through culture, through dance, through music, through eating together, through getting to know the other in their culture and in their heritage. But perhaps I should just tell you that I have become much more powerful in my understanding of nonviolence through the work with Encounter. Because although Melissa convinced me to put my toes in the water by framing the vision as transforming of the Jewish community, I have been changed. As a result of my work with Melissa and the team in Encounter, as many of you know, I've traveled to Auschwitz. I've been there twice. I have eaten my daily bowl of rationed soup and a piece of dry bread while praying with other leaders from around the world in Birkenau. I have traveled far in the last 5 years in understanding Jewish history, trauma, and fear. And so now, when I talk about nonviolence, it's not just about the Palestinian resistance. I am talking about a vision that includes my enemy and struggle for his and her humanity and dignity, just as I ask him and her to recognize my humanity and dignity as well. Working with you has changed my life, Melissa. The core of our common message is about healing. Healing through experience and communication. It is about creating an opportunity for looking beyond the expressions, forms, and structures of violence. It is looking beyond the stereotypes, and it is looking beyond the blaming and complaining about the behavior of the other, about what their intention is or not, but to ask ourselves, individually and collectively, with each other and for each other, who do we want to be in spite of all what the past offers us? What do we want to stand for the future? Melissa, you and your incredible team are so much thanked for the work you have done. You are a true visionary. The French novelist Marcel Proust once said that the real voyage of discovery consists not in seeking new landscape, but in having new eyes. You have looked to Palestine and to Israel, the oldest landscape on earth, with these new eyes. You have looked in a way that nobody has done before. And in your looks, you have not just discovered the land, you have also discovered the people of the land. And you have done more than that. You have created an opportunity through encounter for thousands, and hopefully soon, and I say this to you, tens of thousands of more from this great community coming to see the Holy Land with those new eyes. You will not leave us, I know that for sure. So with you and with Encounter, we move forward in partnership and friendship. I declare to you this day our full commitment to creating a future with you, where peace, equality, security, dignity, respect, and trust become inherent values for both our beloved communities and the world. I want to end by saying that ultimately our goal as Holy Land Trust, and I want to speak also on behalf of Encounter to say that it is not about raising and uplifting two organizations. Ultimately, my goal is to see that headline item in the New York Times where it says, the reason for peace is because the American Jewish community got involved. Thank you very much.